So I would invite you today when you practice to, there is a lot of fine work or fine motor work or PT kind of work. I would invite you not to rush through things. And then if you need a break at any point, you could add in some other just kind of movements or roll your shoulders out. And I would also invite you to really avoid any kind of hyperextension at the elbows or wrists. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to pay attention to borrowing from other parts in your body. So we're really trying to isolate particularly the hands and the wrists. Wrists are considered part of the hands. So when we talk about how many bones and tendons and ligaments, it's all together: the wrists, the palm, the fingers. And then if you think about it, when we're in certain positions like tabletop, squeezing the forearms in and trying to break out against the upper arms as if you had a strap on. Okay. So let's begin actually on our backs. And here you could be, any kind of light movement is fine. Just do what you need to do to sort of wake up your body and come into present moment. This is a quote by Elizabeth Gilbert from Eat, Pray, Love. We have hands. We can stand on them if we want to. That's our privilege. That's the joy of a mortal body. That's why God needs us, because God loves to feel things through our hands. So as you move and wake up your body and come into presence, I would ask you just to focus on your hands. And think about or become aware of what your hands do all day long. How your hands express your love, your gratitude, your need. How your hands support you. Great. And then let's bring our feet, soles of the feet to the floor in a position of comfort. And we'll just begin some pelvic tilts. So drawing the pubic bone away from the navel and then pubic bone back towards the navel. And as you do this, let's take the arms out to a T, resting the back of your hands on the floor. Spread your fingers wide and reach through your fingers. And then as you continue just to move in your pelvis, curl your fingers in towards your palms and make a fist with the thumb on the outside of the fingers, and then open the fingers back up. Okay, so yeah, I'm having to do two things at the same time, but keep your breath, your rhythm of your breath with the movement of your pelvis, and just don't worry about trying to match anything with your hands, but just curl the fingers in and then extend the fingers out. And then we'll come to cactus arms. Okay, and now the feet a little bit wider. And then that same windshield wiper motion that we do quite a bit. And as your knees fall to the right, extend your left arm up, pinky towards the ceiling, and see if you can keep all 5 fingers, or 4 fingers, really reaching straight back. So there's no overextension, overflexion in the hand, but you're resting on your thumb and you're reaching the fingers back and away. And then you slide back to center, knees to the left, right arm reaches up. And so your hands are kind of in this, when you stretch the arm long, your hands kind of in a karate chop set up there. Okay, so just back and forth, but just paying a little bit more attention to your hands. And just continue that pattern for a little bit. And then coming back to center. Now take your arms alongside your body, robot arms, we call them, so fingers pointing up towards the ceiling, soles of the feet on the floor. And let's begin with the hands. So you'll take you'll angle your pinkies down towards your lower body, and then back to center, and then towards your upper body. So everything's in one line, your wrists, your hands, your fingers. So there's no crease in your wrist. And this is called radial and ulnar deviation. So we're going back and forth, pointing your fingers towards your knees, then back to up towards the ceiling, and then pulling them sort of back towards you. And then with that movement, you can just begin some sort of like a bridge, lifting and setting back down, or a spinal undulation. So you'll maybe you can lift through the hips as you pull your fingers back, and then you could lower down and point your fingers away. It's not necessary to coordinate the hands with the movement, just trying to add some bigger gross movement to our practice while we work with the hands. Great. And then come back down, take your arms back out to the T position, feet in position of comfort. And then we're gonna lift the knees, stack your knees over your hips. And as you let your knees come over to the right, go ahead and let your left hand come over to meet your right hand, and just let your palms meet here. And then gently, just feeling your fingertips sort of glide across your body, open up into a twist. Backs of both hands on the floor. Your gaze could be up at the ceiling or over at your left hand. And then inhale, top leg comes up, both knees again stacked over your hips. And now as your knees drop to the left, let your right hand come over and gently touch, palms touching right and left hand. And then just gently with your fingertips, slide your right hand across your body and open up into a twist. Backs of both hands on the floor, gaze up at the ceiling or to the right hand. And we'll do that a couple of times. So as you inhale your top leg up, legs together, knees stacked over the hips, Drop your knees to the right. Let your left hand come all the way over. Hands touch, then just gently feel your fingertips just gently gliding across your body until you're opened up into a twist. Stay as long as you like here. And then inhale, top leg up, both legs together. Come to the left, both hands. Gently come across your body with your right fingertips. So keeping the hand really open, and you'll be in a twist. Now, knees to the left, hands, right hand out and extended. Let's take one more on in each direction. And then we'll come back to center. Interlace your hands right above your chest. See if you can get all the way into the webbing of the fingers, and then press your palms towards the ceiling. Just notice if, in particular, the pinkies separate. Can you really try to keep your fingers all the way in the webbing? And then you could take your hands over to one side and press through your hands. Now, feet can be on the floor unless you want a little extra core work, and we're just really working in the hands right now, just pressing. Back and forth, and then maybe bringing your hands, interlaced hands, back over behind your head. And then here you could even stretch the legs long, reach toes back towards shins, and press hands away. And then slowly release your hands and let your arms come down to your sides. And then either turning to one side or rocking up, come up to your seat. And then we'll come to standing. And here's where you're going to grab a block. Okay. And we'll come up to standing and put the block between your upper inner thighs to ground, just to ground us to midline, to pull us into midline. So in this Tadasana shape, let your hands rest at your sides and palms facing forward. And without looking at your hands, can you get a sense of whether you have your hands in line with your wrists? So no crease, just a nice straight shot from the wrists through the palms, through the fingers. Notice if there's any holding in your shoulders. Can you relax everything sort of upper body? And then reach your fingertips towards the earth. Reach the fingertips towards the earth. Squeeze the block. Okay, relax now, just relax. All right, we're going to start with we're going to work in the shoulders a little bit and then down towards the hands. So we'll bring both hands out in front of us. And here you could grab those tennis balls if you wanted to, or just make a fist. So I'll show both angles. We're going to keep the block between our legs, but arms out in front, just make some circles in one direction. Reverse the direction. And release. Now arms out to the side, circles. One direction, other direction. And release. Now the arms come at 45 degrees. So it's sort of pointing down towards the floor. Circle. Opposite direction. And release. Arms overhead. Circles. Probably a little bit of smaller circle here. Tighter circle. Keep squeezing the block. Reverse. Relax your arms down to your sides. And now we'll circle. I'm just going to kneel so you can see me. Now we're going to circle at the elbows. So we'll bring our hands out in front here, in towards our bodies, around and back out in front. So we're circling at the elbows. And hopefully I'm going slow enough so that you can sort of see how this is working. It's almost like I'm doing a little sort of mini row. You could be standing here or kneeling if you wanted to. And then can you reverse that circle at the elbows? Great. Okay. Let your arms just relax for a breath. And now open, take the left arm, open the left hand, externally rotate that arm and reach the fingers away. Okay. And you could, if that's plenty of opening for you, you could just stay here and take some circles. And if you want a little bit more, you could lean your head over to the right and then circle the arm in both directions. Release, head back to center. Extend the right palm out. Externally rotate. So now the fingers are pointing away. This might be quite a bit of opening for you, and you could circle here, or you could lean your left ear over towards your left shoulder. Now notice if you're pitching your fingers up or away. So keep the hand in line with the wrist as you do this. Circle in both directions. And release, come back to center. Go back to the left hand now. Tuck your thumb into your palm. Internally rotate your hand or your arm, internally rotate your arm, and then make some circles at the elbow. And you could lean over to the right as well, just opening the ulnar nerve there. And then right hand, tuck your thumb into your palm, internally rotate that arm. Maybe take your left ear to your left shoulder and make some circles at the elbow. So moving through the elbow joint. Again, see if you can keep your hand in line with your wrist. Great. All right. Now from here, you need a little bit of wall space, and I'm just going to move my setup so you can see me. With all my things dangling off of here. And there we go. So you're going to take your hands into the wall Your arms about shoulder height and hands about shoulder distance, right into the wall space. Just find some wall space. Keep the shoulders, keep your shoulders sort of up, not scrunched up into your ears, but a little bit maybe higher than you think, and back and in towards midline. And then press into your hands and feel for an even pressing in all parts of the hand. So inner and outer heel of the hand, all the knuckles, including the thumb knuckle, fingertips. So there's an even pressing through your hands, all the way through the hands. And press firmly into the wall. Okay. If you still have your block with you, you could be squeezing your block here. It's not necessary that you have it. Great. Now just relax your effort a little bit. And just, I'll try to talk you through this, but if you need to come see, I'm going to remove one of my hands so that you could possibly see what I'm doing with my hand. But I'll try to talk you through it. So now pressing both hands into the wall, move the thumbs away from the fingers and towards one another. Right? And then move index fingers towards thumbs, just index finger. Then middle finger towards index finger. And then ring finger towards middle finger, index finger. And then pinky over. Okay, so there we are. We got all the fingers moving towards the thumb. Now take pinky finger back out. Press into the wall. Take ring finger back towards pinky finger. Take middle finger back towards ring finger and pinky finger. Take index finger back towards middle finger and then thumb back in. Let's try it one more time. So you've got both hands pressing into the wall. Move the thumbs towards one another. Rest of the fingers are all together. And keep your arms firm here. So don't bend at the elbows. Keep your arms firm. Move index finger towards thumbs. Move middle finger over. Move the ring finger over. And then move pinkies over. Now move pinkies back out. Ring fingers. Middle fingers. Index finger. Thumb. Good. All right, from here, peel your hands away from the wall slowly and just come on to the fingertips. And maybe, depending on the shape of your fingers, you may have one or two fingers touching the wall. And then just release back down to the wall. Good. All right. Shake that out. Come back to your mat. And let's come to tabletop. Now, when you put your hands down onto the floor, see if you can find that same even pressing through all parts of your hands. So as you come to table, even pressing. So feel the outer heel of the hand, the inner heel of the hand, all the knuckles of the hands pressing into the floor, fingertips pressing into the floor. Good, and let's just take some cat-cows here. We'll give the super intentional stuff a little bit of a rest. And we'll get back to it shortly. And then on your neck, we'll just flow a little bit. So on your next exhale, take your hips back to your heels. And then inhale back to cow. And then exhale, turn toes under, press up, downward facing dog. Still have a little awareness of what your hands are doing. Inhale to cow. Exhale. Release your hips back down to your heels. Just take that little vinyasa a few times. And then the last time you come to cow, just set your hips back on to your heels. Great. Okay. So let's take the arms, the hands out in front. I'll try to turn a little, try to turn in the best way here possible. Okay, so we're gonna take some circles with the fingers. So you could have your palms down if you want. We'll do one at a time. And then circle the thumb. Circle the index finger. Circle the middle finger. Circle the ring finger. Circle the pinky finger. And you'll have some sympathetic movement from the other fingers. Now, starting with the pinky finger, opposite direction. Ring finger, opposite direction. Middle finger, opposite direction. And index finger, opposite direction. And thumb, opposite direction. Let's try the other hand. Beginning with the thumb. Then the index finger. Then the middle finger. Then the ring finger. Then the pinky. Then reverse the direction with the pinky, with the ring finger, with the middle finger, with the index finger, with the thumb. Holy cow, that's hard. And then just shake out your hands a little bit. Okay. And then come back to the table position. Feel your whole hand on the floor. And then we're going to move side to side. Just rocking side to side. Feel the shift in your weight. One hand to the other. And try to keep the arms nice and firm. Now bring your fingers to about 45 degrees. Same little rocking motion. And then fingers back towards you, if that's possible in your hands. And just a little backward movement, a little forward movement. Great. Now, you might need to sit down for this one onto your heels. I do. We're going to bring the backs of our hands to the floor and our fingers towards one another. And see if you can get all, I'm going to say eight fingernails on the floor. Maybe some of you can get your thumbnail down to the floor. I cannot. You come forward a little bit, you might be able to get the whole back of your hand down to the floor and the thumbnail. Now, I just have too much impingement, particularly in my left wrist where I broke that wrist. So I just can't even get that thumb down to the floor. But see if you can keep the arms straight. Don't put too much pressure there. And then let's shake out the hands. Great. And then you can bring your hands either to the side or up above your head and squeeze and release. And see if you can make this faster. Faster. And finally let it go. Just let it all go. Good. All right. Now, if you have 2 blocks, here's where you're going to need the 2 blocks. And we're going to set our hands on the blocks as if we're going to, we're going to set our hands on the blocks as if we're going into table or we're going into downward facing dog. But I'm going to just put my fingers spread on the block and my heel hanging off the edge. That makes sense? So you can see my heel of my hand is off the edge of the block and just my fingers are on the block. Okay, so if you had 1 block, you could get a sense of this with just 1 block, go back and forth between each hand, but it's going to be a lot more impactful if you have 2 blocks and you have 1 block on each, 1 hand on each block. And now notice when you do this, if your wrists sort of collapse, and now draw your wrists up. Draw the wrists up. So the wrists are lifted, okay? And you could put a little more weight into your to your hands by putting your knees back a little further, and maybe even curling your toes under and lifting your knees, keeping the wrists lifted, and then release. All right, so hopefully that brought out that oftentimes when we have our hands to the floor in say downward facing dog in particular, which is our most common hand balance, we have a lot of weight on the heel of the hands. So using the block here to show us, we really want weight on the knuckles of the hands, and on the fingertips. So you could play with that on your own at some other time, just really keeping the wrists lifted. Great. Okay, so now let's come back to table. Move the block, placing your hands on the floor underneath your shoulders, and keep the wrists lifted. Turn the toes under, press up and back, downward facing dog. See if you can get a little bit more weight in the knuckles, and in particular, the knuckle of the index finger and the thumb. So the inner portion of the hands. Now, squeeze the forearms towards one another and roll the triceps down, or break out against the imaginary strap that's around your upper arms. And then inhale yourself forward, feet forward to a fold. Halfway lift, just come up on your fingertips. Then fold on your exhale. And then just really awareness to your hands as you sweep your hands up on the inhale, coming up to Ardha Hastasana. And then exhale, release hands to the sides in Tadasana with arms to your side, back to that original Tadasana stance. So palms away, don't have the block now, but squeeze to midline and stretch the fingers to the floor. Good. From here, you're going to take your hands as if you're holding a platter. Okay, and now reach your fingertips down towards the floor and then back towards your face. And you could look at your hands, so elbows are in and forearms are parallel to one another and parallel to the earth. And you could look at any deviation in your hands as you do this. Do they want to move externally, internally? Can you just keep a nice flat palm as you reach fingertips down, reach fingertips up. And then you can bring fingertips towards one another. So I'm holding the platter again, bringing fingertips in towards one another and then away. Which direction do you have more movement? Good. And then you can release that. Let's step wide here and we'll take Warrior Two. So find Warrior Two legs. And then reach your hands out. Just do it naturally without any thinking about it too much. And notice then, look at your hands and notice if you have articulating your fingers up or down, or if you can reach right straight through your ring fingers, wrist, palm, and fingers all in one line. Then let's turn the palms up. Reach forward and come back into Exalted Warrior. Left hand reaches down the left leg, right hand up and over, palm facing the earth. Inhale back to Warrior Two, reaching through the ring fingers. Straighten the front leg and reach the right side body forward. And then tilting your hands, let's bring the right hand to the right shin in triangle. And the top arm, we're going to reach the fingertips up towards the sky, palm facing forward. Palm facing forward, reaching through the ring finger, the middle finger, and feeling and sensing that your wrist, your palm, and your fingers are all in one line. Now bring your top arm to the sacrum, palm out. Palm out. Bend through your front leg, come back to Warrior Two with the one hand behind your back. And then let's bring the hand into palm up position and reach fingers down. Reach fingers up. Reach fingers down. Reach fingers up. And then palm down, pressing into your front leg. Sweep both arms up as you bring both feet to parallel and lightly touch hands together. Lightly touch hands together and then draw your hands to your heart center. The Anahata chakra, the heart chakra, is said to hold the heart, the lungs, most of the organs, and then it spreads out through the arms and through the hands. So our hands are connected to our heart. Good. Turn the opposite foot out. So we'll take Warrior Two legs on the other side. So you can start with your hands at your hips, and then just without thinking about it too much, just reach the arms out and then take a look at both hands, front hand, back hand, reaching through your hands, wrist, palm, and fingers all in one line. Strong warrior two, reaching through the fingers. Then we'll flip the palms up and reach forward with the front hand and come back into exalted warrior. So right hand just rests on the right leg, top arm reaches over, palm facing down. And then sweep your arms back into warrior two. Straighten through the front leg, reach the left side ribs forward, tilting into triangle. Resting your hand, your front hand against your shin, pressing your shin into your hand, and reaching fingertips up towards the ceiling. Keep your neck relaxed here. Now let the fingertips of the top hand really help sweep you back into warrior two. Take that front hand palm like you're holding a platter. Reach fingertips down towards the earth and back. You could rest now your hand on your sacrum. Your right hand reaches around, palm out on the sacrum. And then back to the warrior two. Then we'll turn the front foot parallel as we reach both arms up, bringing palms together lightly, lightly, lightly touching. Just take your time here. Feel the fingertips touch one another, and then drop your hands to heart center. Now release into a forward fold and bring your hands out in front of you just slightly. So you're sort of in a modified fold / downward dog. Hands about shoulder width apart, and feel for pressing into knuckles, finger pads, wrists are lifted. Release your head, release the weight of your head. And then walk your hands back underneath your sternum or your head, your face, and just come up onto your fingertips. Collapse, and then up onto fingertips. Collapse your hands down to the palm to the floor, and then up on fingertips. Collapse, fingertips. Collapse, fingertips. Collapse, fingertips. If it's too much to stay in the fold, you could do the same thing on your knees. Just little fingertip push-ups. Good. If you're in the fold, forward fold, we'll do a couple more, and then heel toe the feet together and come down to your Virasana, sitting on hips on heels. Great. All right. So now we're going to take a couple of hand circles. So you can be sitting in, all right, lots of, you can be sitting on your heels. And I'm going to take my palm down to the floor. Hopefully you can see my hand here. And I'm going to roll towards the space between my thumb and my index finger, and then come into the back of my hand and back over. So I'm going towards my index finger and my thumb sort of come up, and then I roll onto the back of my hand and back. So I'm making this circle with my hand. And then I'll roll to the pinky side, turn my fingers in towards my body and come back around. I'll do that a little slower here. Roll towards the pinky side, then the fingers come back in towards my body and I circle back around to my palm. Pinky side and back around. Okay, let's try the other hand. So palm on the floor, you're going to roll towards, so sort of open up the hand, roll onto the index finger and thumb tips, and then you roll to the back of the hand and back around and back to the palm. And if it feels a little uncoordinated, that's okay, because we don't really do this very often, right? This kind of thing, unless we have an injury and we go to some physical therapy. Let's try the other direction. Towards the pinky side, fingers in and around. Towards the pinky side, fingers in towards our body and around. Great. Now take your fingertips to the floor, just your fingertips. And with your fingertips sort of grabbing the floor a little bit, just move around like you're a spider. So sort of circling in one direction and circling in the other direction. See if you can keep it really in your fingers and your wrists and your hands, and not in your arms as much. Pretty challenging. Great, and shake it out. Now, let's do one more little PT thing here. So let's take that hand out. And you take your hand out and you're gonna isolate your, hold your wrist with your other hand. So you can isolate, we're gonna circle the hand, but really isolate the wrist. So you can bring your fingers in towards midline, down, out, and back. Other direction. Okay, take the other hand. Let's try the other hand. So holding your palm up like you're serving someone a platter, and then bring your other hand to your wrist. Hold that wrist. Bring fingers in towards midline, down, out, and around. Reverse direction. Ooh. Just noticing where you might have some restriction. Great. And shake that out. Now, let's just try one hand balance. Just one. So sitting cross-legged. Bring your hands behind you. And just try to, and for some of us, I mean, depending on the proportions of your body, if you can get your hands to the floor quite easily and you don't have to, because your torso and your arms are pretty evenly matched, see if you can just press your hips up and set them back down. Press your hips up and set them back down. Good. Great. All right. Back to table. Let's just finish with another little flow and really watching your hands or bringing your awareness to your hands and how you're placing your hands on the floor. Okay, so as you come into table, can you get a little bit more weight in the knuckles and the fingertips of the hands? Turn toes under, press up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward to cow. Exhale, bring hips back to child's pose. Inhale, let's slide all the way forward and come to Sphinx. Keeping the hands pressing into the floor. Press your pubic bone into the floor. Draw your tailbone down towards your heels. Now, with your hands in Sphinx, turn your fingers out towards the outside. So the hands stay on the floor, but you're going to turn your fingers out and then in, out, and then in. So that's the ulnar radial deviation. Fingers in, fingers out, fingers in, fingers out. Palms are on the floor. Good. And then release down towards the floor. Slide your hands back towards your low ribs. Press into your hands. Come back to table. Turn toes under, up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, walk your feet up to your hands. And then let your hands just release from the floor lightly as you press into your heels, to your feet, and reach all the way up, Ardha Hastasana. Fingertips lightly touch and bring your hands through heart center. Release hands to your sides, Tadasana. Inhale, sweep your arms up. And exhale, fold through center once again. All the way to the floor. Take your hands to the floor. Step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward and high Dandasana. And exhale, lower through Chaturanga or knees, chest, chin to the floor. Let's come into a locust. And as you do, keep those same hands. So the hands are reaching back. And keep your hands in that same position that we started with, right? So the palms are facing the ceiling, wrists, palms, and fingers all in one line. And then release your hands to the low ribs. Press yourself up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale to walk your feet to your hands, halfway lift. Fingertips could be on the floor here, back of the neck long. Exhale, fold. Press into your feet and lift arches, but light hands. Reach up. Reach all the way through the ring finger. Exhale, hands together, come to the heart center. And just pause here. Pause here. Hands together in prayer. Good. And then you can release your hands to your sides. Let's just come right to chair pose. Reaching the hands forward, Fingers wide, fingers spread. Good. And take a couple of breaths in the chair pose. And then we'll just come all the way down to a deep squat. You can bring your hands together in prayer here, pressing elbows or upper arms into knees, knees back into upper arms. And then we'll set the hips down. Take your time here. Backs of the legs with your hands as you roll down to the floor. And then just let the backs of your hands rest on the floor as you take either some gentle twists or windshield wipers, a figure 4, whatever else you might need just to finish up your practice. But let your hands rest now, backs of the hands on the floor. Preparing for final Shavasana shape. And I would just invite you here. So whatever you want to do with your legs, if you want to keep them long or rest the knees together in position of comfort. But I would encourage you here to really bring your awareness now to your hands. Soften your hands. Soften your hands from the inside out. Soften your hands from the inside out. Notice the vibration and sensation in your hands. Maybe a little conceptualization here, just thinking about what you love to do with your hands. Maybe you're a pianist or an artist, or you like to cook, you're a rock climber. What do you love to do with your hands? How do you express your love with your hands? If you are fortunate enough to be partnered at this time, do you hold your partner's hands? Do you touch your partner with your hands? And then just bring one hand to the center of your chest and the other hand on top of that, and lightly, hands resting one on the other. Feel your breath. Soften the hands again. We have hands. We can stand on them if we want to. That's our privilege. That's the joy of a mortal body. That's why God needs us, because God loves to feel things through our hands. Take your time, rolling to one side, or pressing up to a seat. Stay in Shavasana if you want, whatever you need. And if you choose to come up to a seat, just bring one hand in front of your heart center, just one. And then slowly bring the other hand up, keeping some space between your hands. And then with just great awareness, bringing fingertips together, hands together. May the merit of our practice encourage all beings to unveil the hidden brilliance that lies within. Namaste.